Hey, Kilted Warrior here. Hope you're having a great day. Remember to subscribe if you enjoy this video, and if you'd like to see more videos covering Elder Scrolls, Fallout and Mass Effect, feel free to check out the channel. Otherwise, let us begin. Morrowind, Domerith, Resdayn, a land of fire and ash. Here, fleeing persecution, Veloth and his people made a home in the shadow of doom and destiny. They were to be tested, and though they would stumble and face ruin from within and from without, the spirited people, worshipping gods old and new, would endure and create a legacy of triumph, hubris, regret, and be at the heart of events that would define a people, the world, and the divine. And its saints and heroes would never be forgotten, so long as the ancestors watch over the heirs of the moon and star.
Now go, mortal. Embrace your destiny. Defend these lands with my blessing.
This is your obligatory spoiler warning. This video will spoil the main quest of Morrowind, as well as its two expansions, Tribunal and Bloodmoon, and also has only very minor references to E02. Anyway, with that out of the way, let us begin our journey through the actions and legacy of the Nerevarine. The life and death of Indoril Nerevar. Though the end of the Third Era would see a series of events reshaping Morrowind and see a shift in the balance of power between the Daedric princes with the end of the Tribunal, it is crucial to first look at the life, career and death of the legendary Indoril Nerevar, the Great Ashcan, the King of Resdayn, the Moon and Star. As his decisions, his personality and his fate would have consequences not only for Morrowind's history, but perhaps even more importantly, the great game of the gods. For Nerevar was a crucial piece in Azura's plans, and she would make sure her champion would have the most potent legacy imaginable, putting an end to many would-be gods. So who was Indoril Nerevar? Well, he was a chimera of mysterious origins, with only myths about his birth, his status at birth, and his early life in general. What is known was he was born sometime in the First Era and found himself proving to be a charismatic and skilled warrior, as well as politician and diplomat, and would become known as a skilled general in the 4th century of the First Era, being named Hortator by the Chimera tribes or houses, as he would lead the Chimera army to fight alongside Dwemer allies against the First Empire of the Nords that had previously conquered most of Morrowind or Resdayn, with the notable exception of Vvardenfell. In effect, he was a rebel leader fighting against Nord dominion over his people. In year 416 of the First Era, he would decisively defeat the Nord army at the First Battle of Red Mountain with his Dwemer allies. This success would consolidate his position and the alliance with the Dwemer, and his friend Dwarf King Dumak would mark a high point of the two people's relations, as the Dwarf King would gift him and Almalexia the dwarf-forged blades, the swords of true flame and hope's fire, at their wedding, symbolizing friendship and hope for the future. Hence, Nerevar proved to be a shrewd military commander, diplomat and statesman, yet he was also a deeply religious mirror, and it was said that when faced with decisions that could hold great consequence, he would seek the guidance of his patron goddess Azura, the Lady of Prophecy, goddess of twilight. This reality in itself would prove decisive for the events that were about to transpire, as the relationship between the Dwemer and the Chimer would break down, with the deeply devout Chimer on one side and the cynical, god-hating Dwemer on the other. For the Dwemer had no love for Azura, nor did she for them, as noted in the story of Azura and the Box. Yet Nerevar was a diplomat at heart, and he would seek to prevent conflict despite the many ideological differences between the two peoples. However, fate had other ideas, for the Dwemer dug deep below Red Mountain and found the divine heart of Lorkhan, and the fates of many were sealed that day. From the moment Kagrunak looked upon the possibilities of such an opportunity, it is not clear exactly when or how Nerevar found out about the heart, Vivek claiming that Vorin Dagoth had found out and warned Nerevar, though Azura may have easily warned him also. It is unclear how it happened, yet he did find out and became aware of Kagranak's plans for the heart, and he would confront his old friend Dwarf King Dumak, warning about tampering with the heart and using it for sacrilegious purposes. Yet the enigmatic Dwemer did not care for the warnings of religious fools. War seemed inevitable. Nerevar would unite his people once more to face the Dwemer, but also the resurgent Nords. The war would have the Nords under Wulfharth defeated, their king slain, and Nerevar would eventually confront the Dwemer in their strongholds. It is unknown as to what happened, but Nerevar eventually found his way to the heart of Lorkhan, either ending the Dwemer's dreams of immortality and the mechanical god at the direction of Azura, using the tools of Kagrunak to undo what they had done, or that the Dwemer's own tampering had caused them to vanish or be destroyed, displaced, unmade. Whatever the case was, Nerevar would stand at a crossroads of destiny with the heart before him. His advisors, councillors had their own views on what should be done, and Nerevar as the great statesman knew that the decision of the heart should not be his alone. He would leave Vorin Dagoth to safeguard the heart, seek his councillors, Vivek, Almalexia, and Soule, but most importantly, the ever-devout Mirror would ask Azura what should be done also. It was clear the heart should not be tampered with. It is unclear if Azura had intended at this point to have the heart left alone completely or possibly released of the enchantments. Yet ultimately, whatever decision Azura had made, Nerevar listened. For the councillors, oaths were made before Nerevar and to Azura. Yet Nerevar would be killed, the reasons unclear, perhaps by Dagoth, Nerevar's councillors, or even wounds suffered by fighting Dumak. Whatever the case, he lay dead, and after the oath his councillors had made was broken, Azura would curse them for betraying her champion and their oaths to her, and with it, Nerevar's story would not end, for his soul would be reborn again and bring a divine reckoning upon the false gods for their treachery. The moon and star would rise again.
Nerevar reborn, incarnate. Your first 3 trials are finished. Now 2 new trials lie before you. Seek the Ashlander Ashkans and the Great House Councillors. 4 tribes must name you Nerevarine. 3 houses must name you Hortator. My servant, Nabane Mesa, shall be your guide. And when you are Hortator and Nerevarine, when you have stood before the false gods and freed the heart from its prison, heal my people and restore Morrowind. Do this for me, and with my blessing.
The Nerevarine Prophecies. Each event is preceded by prophecy, for the goddess Azura is the Lady of Prophecies. So when she appeared before the tribunal, after they had broken their oaths, she cursed them and proclaimed the prophecy of their downfall. That prophecy would be carried by the loyal Ashlander tribes who had once followed their great Ashcan and refused to be subjugated by the tribunal temple and their great houses. They would, as custom demands, pass the words of the Nerevarine Prophecies from wise woman to wise woman, foretelling of the return of their hero as the Nerevarine, the incarnate of Nerevar. Though some would hearken to the prophecy's claims and seek to be named the Nerevarine, they would all fail and become false incarnates, their souls made to dwell with their remains in the cavern of the incarnate, where they tried to garner Azura's blessing, to wear the ring of the late Indoril Nerevar, moon and star, granted to him by the goddess as a sign of her blessing and the undeniable proof of the future Nerevarine's claim to be the incarnate and champion of Azura. In time, an individual would step forward, an Outlander.
They have taken you from the Imperial City's prison, first by carriage and now by boat. To the east, to Morrowind. Fear not, for I am watchful. You have been chosen.
The Emperor's agents would seek to have the Outlander test the prophecies by seeking the Ashlander wisdom, which Uriel Septim VII believed was the only hope to save Morrowind and perhaps the world. The Outlander would face trials, curses, and walk the path of the Stranger. The Stranger, as spoken by wise woman Nebani Mesa. When earth is sundered and the skies choked black, and sleepers serve the 7 curses, to the hearth there comes a stranger, journeyed far 'neath the moon and star. Though stark born to sire uncertain, his aspect marks his certain fate. Wicked stalk him, righteous curse him. Prophets speak, but all deny. Many trials make manifest the stranger's fate, the curse's bane. Many touchstones try the stranger. Many fall, but one remains. The 7 curses, noted by the dissident priests, through the doors of the unmourned house, where scoffers scoff and schemers scheme. From the halls of the oath-breaking house rings 7 curses of gods blasphemed. First curse, curse of fire. Second curse, curse of ash. Third curse, curse of flesh. Fourth curse, curse of ghosts. Fifth curse, curse of seed. Sixth curse, curse of despair. Seventh curse, curse of dreams. 7 visions of 7 trials of the incarnate, as spoken by wise woman Nebani Mesa. 7 trials, what he puts his hand to that shall be done, what is left undone that shall be done. First trial, on a certain day to uncertain parents, incarnate moon and star reborn. Second trial, neither blight nor age can harm him, the curse of flesh before him flies. Third trial, in caverns dark Azura's eye sees, and makes to shine the moon and star. Fourth trial, a stranger's voice unites the houses, 3 halls call him Hortator. Fifth trial, a stranger's hand unites the Velothi, 4 tribes call him Nerevarine. Sixth trial, he honors blood of the tribe unmourned, he eats their sin and is reborn. Seventh trial, His mercy frees the cursed false gods, binds the broken, redeems the mad. One destiny. He speaks the law for Velof's people. He speaks for their land, and names them great. And so it was, after ages past, the prophecies of the events that foretold the return of Azura's blessed champion came to be. Dagoth's curses, heralding the return, and the 7 visions granted by Azura, laying out the 7 trials. The Nerevarine and Hortator, uniting Velof's people once more against a great threat, as Nerevar had done when facing the Dwemer. The moon and star, loyal to the goddess, ended the false gods, Dagoth-Ur, the tribunal's power, and freed the heart. Yet there were many consequences of that act, and the legacy of the Nerevarine, much like the goddess they served, was both of light and dark, moon and star, and it would not be the last prophecy for the legendary hero to partake in.
You no longer bear the burden of prophecy. You have achieved your destiny. You are free. The doomed Duima's folly, Lord Dagoth's temptation, the tribunal's seduction, the god's heart freed, the prophecy fulfilled. All fate sealed and sins redeemed. If you have pity, mourn the lost, but let the weeping cease. The blight is gone, and the sun's golden honey gilds the land. Hail, Saviour, Hortator, and Nerevarine. Your people look to you for protection. Monster and villains, great and small, still threaten the people of Vvardenfell. Enemies and evils abound, yet indomitable will might rid Morrowind of all its ills. For you, our thanks and blessing, our gift and token given. Come, take this thing from the hand of God.
The Bloodmoon Prophecy. As spoken by Shaman Korst Wind-Eye of the Skull, the legend tells of a time that occurs once each era when a demon god will walk the land in the company of his hounds, creatures of the terrible night. He is the hunter, and his coming is preceded by 3 signs. The first tells of fire from the Eye of Glass. This we have seen on Lake Fjölding. Next, the prophecy tells us of the Tide of Woe. Even now our shores are lined with the corpses of Horkers, dead for a reason we cannot fathom. Finally, the prophecy tells us of the Blood Moon, when the young moon itself turns red with the blood of the hunter's prey. Look to the skies, Bloodskull. The 3rd sign is upon us. Now we wait for the hunter's game.
Ah, you have arrived. The others have been here for days now, and you are the last. It is time for my hunt, and you are to take part. I have chosen only the most worthy to take part in the hunt. You have proven yourself a worthy hunter, and so you have been given this honor. You and the others are to find your way to my hunting grounds. Take great care, as only one of you will earn the glory of facing the hunter himself in battle while the blood moon lights the sky. The others have gone ahead, so only you remain to begin. Beware, mortal. My hounds are about, and they hunger for blood. Perhaps I will see you soon. Now go.
While the Nerevarine Prophecies were of great consequence to Morrowind and would reshape it in many ways, there is another prophecy the Nerevarine would find themselves at the centre of, that being the prophecy that involved Hircine's great hunt and the rise of the Blood Moon. carrying implications not just for Solstheim, but for the world, as with each era Hircine would seek to plunge the world into a hunt without end. The Nerevarine would arrive on the island of Solstheim to find things amiss. The professional soldiers of the Imperial Legion uncomfortably shaken with whispers of sightings of men turning into beasts stalking the island during the night, and the Skal, natives of the island, seeing many eerie signs of what was to come. With the warnings of the Skal, the Nerevarine would see the Bloodmoon Prophecy unfold. It is not clear which course the hero took. Some say they usurped Hircine's great hunt from within his own pack, having carried the curse of the beast blood themselves. Some say the Nerevarine became Bloodskal and assisted the Skal in their own hunt to match the mighty Daedric Prince, fighting for the Allmaker's honour and defending the land itself. What was clear was that Solstheim was drenched in blood as Hircine relished at the worthy hunters testing themselves in an arena of his making. Yet when it came time for the great huntsman to join the hunt personally, as the prophecy demanded, the Nerevarine would step forward, having bested Hircine's most deadly hunters and accepting Hircine's challenge, besting one of his aspects in single combat and preventing the great hunt before it could even truly begin. For Hircine, disappointed but seeing a worthy foe, would accept that it would not be this era where his great hunt would succeed in turning Nirn into his hunting ground. For the Nerevarine earned his respect and would depart Mundus once more.
This cannot be. The blood moon falls and the prey still lives. You have defeated my aspect, but I will return mortal. The blood moon will rise again, and my hounds will walk the lands. Let this world enjoy its brief respite, for Hircine will hunt again.
The Legacy of the Nerevarine, Triumph and Despair. The importance of the Nerevarine's actions in defining the course of Morrowind's history cannot be overstated. Their actions had deep cultural, political and religious consequences, some that would not be felt until the Nerevarine left the stage. Culturally, the Nerevarine bridges the gap between the Chimer culture of the past, or Velothi culture, and the post-tribunal Dunmer culture that would return to its roots, and by extension lead to a religious transformation from the living gods that had dominated Dunmer life for 2 eras, as they would see Azura, Boethia and Befala reclaim their place in the Dunmer people's hearts. Though these transitions were smoother than might be expected, simply due to the Nerevarine's position as a spiritual icon, as well as the effective administration that had already been set up by the tribunal, the Nerevarine would give the new arrangements a legitimacy, not due to direct intervention on these new changes, but rather as a natural beacon of legitimacy associated with them, whether intended or not. So there was no doubt that the Nerevarine had an important cultural and religious legacy. Yet on the political side, it was more chaotic, in no small part due to the reality that the Nerevarine sowed the seeds of political conflict in Morrowind, and by the nature of being Hortator and Nerevarine, but not becoming the monarch as Nerevar had once been, meant that the hero had created a terrible power vacuum with the end of the tribunal. At first it would have appeared that King Helseth of House Hlalu and his shrewd mother, the legendary Baron Zaya, with Almalexia's demise, naturally they would seek to fill the power vacuum, as they had been in conflict with Almalexia before her death. and with their close partnership with the Empire and unknown to most, their underworld connections seemingly leaving them in a strong position to seize more power. Yet the Oblivion Crisis was imminent, and the Empire's legions being stretched to the breaking point would be unable to maintain a presence in Morrowind, causing it to secede in time. Yet also with Morrowind reeling from the fall of the Tribunal, Hlaalu was seen as the Empire's lackey, though this was only half true, but would be seen by the other houses as a problem, and they would conspire to destroy them and blame them for many cataclysms that would fall upon the Dunmer people in the first 2 centuries of the 4th era, as House Hlaalu struggled to hold on to power and would eventually lose it. Yet most decisive for the fate of House Hlaalu and the legacy of the Nerevarine was the Red Year, the 5th year of the 4th era, which, without Vivec to hold with his divine power the moon Bardau, it seemed the warrior poet's warning to its people should they abandon the tribunal came to fruition, as it saw Sheogorath succeed in destroying Vivec's city, having attempted all those years ago, and with the help of the Nerevarine no less, for it showed the other side of prophecy, for with fate sometimes horrible things will happen, and none the Dunmer would proclaim that they would learn the lesson and become stronger, and accepting it as a divine punishment for the tribunal's actions. The Red Year still was indiscriminate, as even the Ashlander tribes, the Nerevarine's most stalwart supporters, loyal to the true gods, were decimated regardless, along with the rest of Vardenfell, with the ashes of Red Mountain spewing across all of Morrowind and even to Solstheim. Yet fate decreed that this punishment was not enough, for the Argonians resurgent under the Ansalil would invade Morrowind in a tide of vengeance, and the Dunmer would suffer the result of Nerevar's actions, without their living gods to protect them, and the devastation caused by the Red Year having left them vulnerable. Unintended, of course, but Mephala knows the threads of fate that lead to the calamities go back to the actions of the Nerevarine and Azura. So what of the legacy of the Nerevarine, both hero but unwilling bringer of devastation, saint but also divine retribution that brought calamity? Yet perhaps that is the Dunmer way, the way of Azura, Mephala and Boethia, that life is tests and that the Dunmer must be strong, have courage in the face of the challenges before them, endure, as they know that existence is cruel at times, not good, not evil, but balance, that survival in the harsh lands of Morrowind requires facing adversity. And perhaps in the end the legacy of the Nerevarine was one of a teacher of both light and dark, action and consequence, just like the Lady of Twilight had intended. But what of the Daedric Prince's intentions, and how the Nerevarine played a role in the great game of the gods? It all goes back to the heart of Lorkhan. For the gods that removed Lorkhan's divine heart, they likely sought to keep the heart buried and away from mortal and immortal hands alike. Yet the Dwemer, as they have done on more than one occasion, dug deep and found an artifact, or more accurately a dormant piece of divine power, divine essence. At the same time, considering that Azura was said to, by some, have been with Lorkhan when he was supposedly dying, that is, he survived his heart being taken, she witnessed him dying, shattering, or simply being taken off the board as it were, if those myths are of course to be believed. If it is so that she was there, Azura may have had a connection to Lorkhan, or Shor, just as she may have witnessed his birth as well, according to those myths in the Void. Yet with that, it would mean through Nerevar and the Nerevarine, they may have started a set of events that would herald the return of that most influential god. Was the Nerevarine not only a divine avenger of those who had betrayed their oaths to Azura and to Nerevar, but perhaps was also the herald of the beginning of events that would reshape the balance of power between the Divine, the Aedra, and the Daedra alike. For the Nerevarine freed the god's heart, and despite everything else, the accolades, devastation, could the release of the heart be their greatest legacy? That is, they are Azura's champion and the herald of Shore's return.
Work in Morrowind is not finished, Nerevarine. The tribunal are dead, and the faith of my people is shaken. Protect them. Defend these lands. The skies of Mournhold are clear once again. Let these peoples suffer no longer. Now go, mortal. Embrace your destiny, and go with my blessing.
Conclusion. Every champion needs a patron. And so the Nerevarine succeeded, as the hero that ended the Blight, Sharmat, brought down the false tribunal, thwarted the great hunt. Yet the hero also brought calamity upon Velos people, but the dumber would survive, and look to the lessons of the Nerevarine as the great saint and champion of Azura. Next time, we shall explore that most towering presence in Dummer society and the story of the Nerevarine and Lord Nerevar, by exploring the nature, influence, and the actions of the goddess Azura, goddess of twilight, and glimpse into the divine and see both acts of great benevolence but also malevolence. As always, I hope you enjoyed this one. Remember to like, comment and subscribe if you did. It goes without saying that the Nerevarine is a crucial part of why the Dunmer and Morrowind are so popular in Elder Scrolls, so I hope you comment on what you liked about the legendary hero, the prophecies, and the impact on Elder Scrolls as a whole. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day, and thanks again for watching.